Hey guys, this is R597 here, and today we are going to be talking about um, another episode of Richie's Thoughts. And what we're going to be talking about in the episode is obviously the whole Crash Team Rumble reveal that happened at the Game Awards at this point 4 days ago. And if you saw my reaction to the trailer, which was posted a day or two afterwards, I was super excited, needless to say. I was super excited to see the project revealed, and I was incredibly happy when this was initially revealed. Now, actually, before we get started, there we go. So before we get started, this is gonna be a different episode for two different reasons, or maybe one reason. Maybe if I need to make it into two, I'll probably do it. The first part is going to be me talking about the reveal discussion, which, is pretty standard Richie Spots disclosure, where we talk about a topic and all this other shit. But there's going to be a second part to the video, meaning like I'm probably going to start recording on this first one and then go on to the second one because I gotta get all the materials together. But yeah, they'll all be on the same video. Because I figured it might as well just be worth to bundle it all up together since it's kind of the same thing. But if I don't do that for whatever reason, I will probably make it into a separate video. And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, if you can tell by the little sign on the format where I say rant about the Reddit post. Because there was a Reddit post by a quote-unquote former QA tester from Activision that has apparently seen some things, has confirmed some shit, and etc. And the thing I want to give rant about the Reddit post was just how wrong it was, because I looked at the Reddit post and I was like, okay, this seems kind of interesting. I'm thinking, what was right about it, what was wrong about it, and I watched Abdul the Arab guy, which is one of the prominent Crash fans on Twitter, and he made his own thread on Twitter where he talked about how this Reddit post is just basically wrong because of this and that reason. And I looked at the way that he explained it based on the evidence that we have, and I looked at that same exact evidence and tried to come at it from a clear perspective, and I don't see how this Reddit post could be right, because it just doesn't make sense for it to be right based on the evidence. But the thing that kind of blows dick about it, and actually, no, I'm not going to go too much further into it. You guys find out in that part of the episode if I do put it in the same video, or if not, I'll probably put it as its own separate video. But you'll find that out depending on the length of this video, because right now I'm just really recording the real discussion part. But anyways, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive straight into it, right? So Crash Team Rumble. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the Activision blog post because I just want to make sure I have everything with me. All right, here we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and read off. What we're gonna do is look at the blog post, and then we're gonna give our thoughts about it overall. So Crash Team Rumble coming soon to Xbox and PlayStation. Rise as a hero or unleash your inner villain as Crash, Dingodile, and other heroes and villains of the Crash universe heads to the arena in the all-new team-based 4v4 cross-platformer Crash Team Rumble, releasing in 2023. Now, first of all, the fact that it says heads to an arena in the all-new team-based 4v4 cross-platformer, well, first of all, cross-platformer is huge for this game. It's super huge. And the reason I say it's huge is because normally cross play platformers tend to have more dedicated servers, a bit more attention to detail with it, more content oversaw, etc. And one of the things that kind of stunk about Nitro Field was that the servers weren't really that good. The content was good, but it kind of took a bit for that to happen. So I imagine they want to re-up their mistakes or fix their mistakes for Team Rumble, and I honestly believe, with the fact that it's already going to come out cross platform play platformer for this one, I think that would be huge for this game and for the potential success it'll bring. So I'm definitely excited to see that in terms of what they could do for this whole game overall. But yeah, and also the fact that it talks about head to the arena and the all new team based 4v4. So people are already, obviously, just by the description of it, are already giving this game the whole MOBA treatment in the sense that, oh, another MOBA, ew, that type of shit. But to me personally, and maybe this is just bias overall. I don't really see what the problem is with MOBA in general. I mean, it's definitely one of the more popular genres of games within the last few years or so. And I think Crash Bandicoot as a franchise definitely needed to explore outside horizons because it wasn't just going to do platformers that we all know and love for forever. Like, it needed to do something different. And one of the things I loved about Twinsanity was that, yes, it was still a platformer, but one of the things I loved about it was that it was different in terms of like it being more of a semi-open world game as opposed to just a linear platformer type of game, which is what the first three original Crash games were, Wrath of Cortex and etc. And the things I appreciate them doing before the Naughty Dog era ended was that they did team racing, which was technically the last game, and that Naughty Dog actually did. But that was something different at the time because it wasn't just fucking platformer; it was a racing game. And then Crash Bash, as much as people want to give it the whole it's mediocre shit, which I'm not going to disagree. But the thing you have to give them credit for, the ones that made Crash Bash, was that it was again something different and it worked. It worked for the most part. It was like a party game for them to try out, and people have fun with it, etc. So I don't understand this. I mean, I guess this is a rant in itself, but I don't understand this unnecessary hate for the whole idea of MOBA. Yes, I play League of Legends, and yes, I'm biased and all that shit. But even if I were to not play League of Legends, and I had no idea, well, I would still have an idea of how a MOBA worked, but I just have never played it. But I personally don't get the whole hate about it because, again, my whole response to it is just that I think Crash Bandicoot just needed to explore outside horizons again. Because let's think about it. If we were to look at from the point of Insane Trilogy, because it's relevant in this case. So what they did was they brought back the first three games from the ground up. So that in itself was different, but technically still the same game. Again, the only difference was that obviously it was built from the ground up, so everything in terms of models, animation, enemies, everything, like literally everything about Insane Trilogy was just built from the ground up. Then they did the same exact thing with Nitro Fueled, where they literally just made it from the ground up. I imagine the character models were still pretty relevant for the most part. Maybe they just did some minor tweaks here and there for the characters. But they brought a lot more content because they brought over, obviously, Crash Team Racing because, that was the whole point of the remake. Nitro Kart was in there. I think some stuff from Tag Team Racing was in there as well. So, yeah. So, basically, it was a remake once more, but it added more stuff. So, that in itself was a little bit different. And now we go on to It's About Time, which was a brand new original project where it didn't take inspiration from any of Insane Trilogy and Nitro Fueled. And when I say inspiration, I'm talking about in the sense of like, oh, they didn't like intentionally brought over content like that just to spice up the game, which is the whole purpose what those other four games were to be built from the ground up and to gain that quick public reception. I think the whole goal about It's About Time was that it was going to be its own brand new game, but still, keeping the same spirit as like the other ones did. So it's different in the sense that it was a brand new game. It was a different story. It was a different tackle on, how the game would be performed. And there were different features that didn't really exist on the other ones that, were implemented in this game. So from that point on, what would fans have preferred? Would they prefer literally the same exact kind of thing but for, the fifth game? Or would they have preferred something different in terms of it being like a spin-off, a platformer, whatever? To me personally, and before we actually talk about Team Rumble, I myself prefer this because I think Crash Team Rumble will take on a unique opportunity to present itself as like its own approach to a good party game. And I think with all the time and resources and shit that went into this, I mean, because clearly from the trailer they did a very good job on the visuals of the characters, the details of the characters, because they look fucking outstanding. And the only questions I really have before giving it more of a thought was to the rest of this whole thing is that how are the party games going to work? How are the maps going to work? How is all of this that we're seeing right here? How's this all going to work? Like, that's really the biggest thing. We just really need to know more information, and I feel like that in itself there needs to, that in itself will be revealed in due time. Because right now the game comes out in 2023. We don't have an official release date, but we're guessing it's probably going to be June anyways, because Crash games ever since Insane Trilogy have been released in June. Well, the only exception to that rule was It's About Time, but to be fair, It's About Time wasn't it wasn't officially revealed until June, and it came out in October, 1st or 2nd of 2020. It was one of those 2 days. But anyways, so yeah, pretty much June is like a huge month for Crash Bandicoot fans, or just Crash Bandicoot in general, because that tends to be where games are either announced or released. So with that being said, right, I'm just mostly curious to see what more will be revealed in terms of like the functionality of these mini games, who else is going to join the roster, how are certain things going to be implemented, like the online servers, again, how the mini games work, and what maps will be there, DLC or downloadable content for like extra skins for characters. Because I imagine that has to be one of the things, because no party game is ever complete without like at least there being some form of DLC when it comes to like changing the looks of the character and stuff. And it is coming from Activision / Torch Bob of all things. So I imagine that has to be on the table, because that's pretty standard over there. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as like my own thoughts about it. But let's go ahead and look at more of the blog post. And again, overall, I don't understand the hate for it, because these are the same Crash Bandicoot fans that want to see change. Is something different with the franchise. But yet, some of these people are the same ones hating on the trailer for doing exactly that. Like, yeah, you could bring it all day about like, oh, it's fucking MOBA, ew. It's like, well, Crash Bandicoot has never done a MOBA before. So in reality, it's something different for them. Like, I understand not liking it. I'm not saying you don't have to like it, but you can't, like, you can't ask for something different and something new for the franchise and then be the same ones hating on it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But hey, whatever. Be my guest. Alright, so a vibrant and zany competitive showdown in pursuit of fruit, which is, referring to Wampa fruit. Alright, so play as Crash, Dingodile, and a host of other heroes and villains from Crash's universe, and strategically leverage and get each character's distinct personality and playstyle. Rumbles will take place across wild and varied arenas in 4v4 team-based online multiplayer action. Players slide, smash, bump, and bash their way to victory against the other teams to battle it out to drop out the most Wampa fruit in the team's bank. So the way I understand the way that is saying is basically, well, first of all, it answers one of my questions, which is, are they going to do more arenas? Because I imagine that this is this whole map of what we're seeing right now that they're on, that can't be the only map, and obviously it's not going to be, because it doesn't make sense for you to make like a MOBA and there only be one map. Oh, excuse me. I guess the technicality of it all is literally League of Legends, because League of Legends mainly takes place on Summoner's Rift, but they do have other maps for you to play on. Like, for example, there's ARAMs, there's the ARAM map, which is just the snow map in itself, which, by the way, that map got some additional changes. And then there's time from time certain game modes that they'll bring on for a limited amount of time where it takes place on a different map. But ARAM is like part of it. So that's technically 2 maps for League of Legends. And of course, if you count like the little changes that they do for Summoner's Rift from time to time, like for example, they'll add the latest big one that they did was change up the jungle pathing. Well, not jungle pathing, the jungle environment, where there's they changed up the blast cone areas. There's alcoves for top lane and bot lane, so that isn't in itself is a bit different in terms of strategy and shit like that, and etc. etc. So I imagine that they're gonna do a lot more than just like one, and based on the way that the statement says, it looks like that'll be the case, because if you read the part where it says rumbles will take place across wild and varied arenas, that is a very clear indication that there's going to be multiple, more of it just 1 or 2 arenas, if I had to guess anyway. So I think that's good. The thing I asked for with these arenas is that I just hope that the arenas actually represent like the franchise in its good state. I don't want just something random and like something random that doesn't key to the game's messaging or the theme of the game. Like the whole point of the game is to fight against each other in like a team-based setting. So I want the maps to feel that way. I want the maps to feel good about it. I want the maps to represent what the game is going for. So that in itself is something I would like to see. And from the whole point of, players slide, smash, bump, and bash their way to victory, right? Against the other teams to battle it out to drop off the most wampa fruit in their team's bank. To me, that sounds like Capture the Flag, where you basically, in Capture the Flag, right? Capture the Flag, you go to the other team's base, you take their flag, and then you run back to yours, and then you take the flag for yourself. It kind of does that here, because in this case, you do have to go out of your way to go get the objective and then bring it back to your side. The only difference is that the wampa fruit are all scattered from what it looks like here. Because I'm looking at the blog post image. It looks like they're just scattered all over the place. So it doesn't take the same exact approach that Capture the Flag does, but the whole essence of like competing against another team and then bringing that shit back to your bank, or in this case your side, your team side, that in itself kind of takes almost the same approach as Capture the Flag. Again, the only difference really is that Team Rumble does something a little bit different when it comes to that. So that is really the whole point of it. So yeah, as far as my opinion about that, I am super excited for that, because I think an approach like that is simple for Crash Bandicoot, and I think it's a way to it's a way for to do something different, but also have a very simple game idea. Like I don't want them to do something like something complicated and then they put that in for the game. Like I want for them to really work on something simple and then work their way up, because I think if this game is going to be really successful, you can also add other game modes to this. Like for example, you can add racing on foot. You can do what they're doing here and just straight up 4v4 fighting with no wampas, no objective goals. The only thing you have to do is basically deathmatch. So they can add all these other game modes and shit, and I feel like, once the game becomes successful enough, I just, it would just be, I think it would be beneficial for the game overall. So I'm definitely excited to see that. But yeah, let's head on next, because there's really not much left of the blog post, so it's not going to take forever. So anyways, featuring cross-platform play, which I've already mentioned, Crash Team Rumble will feature Ferocious, I guess that's how you say it. Ferocious strategic gameplay elements that are sure to turn the tide of the match in hilarious ways. There's something here for everyone, from a casual pickup and play experience to leveraging the most out of each hero's unique abilities. Well, there's really not much to say about the statement, because I mean the later part of it kind of explains that, hey, this game is for everybody. You can play it as like a casual pickup and play experience, or you can be that type of person that really wants to leverage most of your most of your character's abilities. And I think I think the trailer does a good job of showcasing like what you can English what you can expect from like characters' abilities. Like obviously for Crash Bandicoot, you can expect like the typical spin, jump, body slam, Dingo Dial with his gun. He can use it as like a way to get up to platforms, a way to blow up people. He can use it as like an AoE slow because you're essentially sunking them in. So that in itself is an AoE slow. Cortex can change people into like random animals, which can happen for like a few seconds. Tawna can maybe stun people with her fucking glider or whatever it is for like 2 or 3 seconds. I was going to say Tawna again. Entropy, the female, she could stun people with her electricity and stuns them in place for about like 1 or 2 seconds, etc. So there's already distinctive possibilities as to which of these characters can really do with their abilities. I think Embryo, if I had to guess based on the way the trailer presented it, it seemed like he'll take the role of whatchamacallit. I think Embryo is going to take the role of Gnar from League of Legends, where because I don't know if he's just going to be strictly the monster, or maybe he'll just only have an opportunity to go back to human form, but probably not because of the fact of the matter is we didn't really see him in his human form at all, and if I probably missed that in the trailer, and I'm just not good. So if he were to stay in the if he were to stay in the monster form, he could take the role of Gnar, where basically if he slams his fist into the ground and you're in the range of his smackdown, you could get stunned for about like a second or two, and then he could bring up something that he could throw towards you, and that will also stun you as well. So Embryo will probably be more of like a stun machine type of thing. So that's what I think they'll do with him, but realistically speaking, who knows? Maybe what they'll do is that maybe for projectiles for him, maybe they can have him spit out chemicals out of his body. He spits towards the character, and the character is then stuck in place for about like a half a second or a second and a half, and then I mean that's something probably that they'll do if I had to guess, but I could be wrong. But yeah, the benefits of cross-platformer, because I did kind of mention that. So let me go ahead and bring that up real quick. And let me actually see crossplay. So let me go ahead and bring up like the simple reasons as to why cross-platformer play is going to be beneficial towards this game, and just in general. Number one, it's going to be faster long-term development, because if you think about it, right, you making a game, right, on multiple platformers is literally faster than just, making a game for one platformer and then porting it to other platformers post-launch. And if you look at it, right, Crash Sports About Time literally does exactly that, because it was made for the PlayStation consoles, PS4, PS5, and then it never, or in this case, PS4, I guess. Then it got platformed to other platformers, consoles like Switch, PC, all that bullshit. So if they take the faster long-term development approach here, that means from day one they can essentially have the game out to other consoles. Now the only thing to it though is that it's only going to be for PlayStation, PS5, PS4, then the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and then Xbox One for the day one platform releases. And they still haven't mentioned the whole PC platforming release and then Switch. But I think by the time that happens, they'll probably because here's my prediction. I think by the time they get done with the base game, which is probably going to be done around like March, June, or not June, either March, April, or even May, just to cut it close if they really want to go that far. I bet you by the time they get done with the main game development, they'll get straight to it as far as like the porting of the game, because at that point you have already made the game, and all you have to really do is port the game over to the other platformers. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than just simply copy the game and put it onto some sort of code or whatever that will then work for the other consoles like Switch and PC. There has to be a lot more to it because you have to once again fine tune the graphics. You have to fine tune like certain things that go into that version of the game and see whether or not that that port can really handle it. And I don't doubt that PC can't handle it. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't. And the Switch, I don't see it being a problem either. But hey, who knows what they're going to put in here? So, and also one of the other things about it, and it's super obvious before we end off this part, is accessibility. Because the more you have this game out for more gaming platformers, first of all, it's going to gain popularity fast because, again, you're opening up to a lot more of a wider audience because, let's say, for example, there's a lot of people that will want to play it on PlayStation, but then there's a whole lot of people that want to play it, again, on, like, Xbox, the Switch, and PC. You're opening yourself up to a lot more people wanting to get your game because the more open the game is, the more likely people are going to buy it, the more sales are going to go up, and the more engagement, positive organic engagement, you're going to get that for your game. And that's the best thing you can really hope for. Everyone has their favorite platformer. So it's literally a no-brainer. And the fact that they're seemingly saying right there in the statement that, it's going to come to other consoles. Well, it's not, they didn't say directly it's going to come to other consoles, but one of the big points in the whole blog post, if I can find it real quick. Wait, did I not? Okay, maybe I'm full of shit here. Okay, no. The only thing that they already mentioned about the other platforms is that it comes out for PS4, PS5, Xbox Series XS, and then Xbox One. But let's be real here, guys. Ever since Insane Trilogy, they've always had released other the games to other platforming consoles. Like Insane Trilogy, they did that in 2018. Nitro Fuel, I think, did that day one, I think, but don't quote me on that. And Crash 4, It's About Time, that didn't happen until like early 2021 in like March or something. So it was like what, less than 4 or 5 months since that happened. So I would say definitely overall, I think they're gonna probably take the whole. I think if the game is gonna be an absolute banger in sales, they'll definitely take the It's About Time approach. Where they'll do it within like a few months afterwards, and then again after that, it's gonna open itself up to a brand new audience. So definitely can't wait for that. And really, that's all there is to it, really. Oh, and most importantly, oh man, I can't forget about this. Effective marketing, because again, when you have a game for cross-platformer play, you can literally market, you can literally marketize your strategy to all these other console users. Like you can strategize against Xbox users and be like, hey, are you looking for a 3D cartoony game that's big on MOBA that you like to play, and it's something that you want to play based on these characters that you knew from back then? You can have all 3 of those things right now on your Xbox. Shit like that. So I would say that's one of the biggest benefits. And of course, there's other benefits to it too. Like for example, like I mentioned before, bigger player bases. The servers are going to be stable, and stable servers is huge because again, Nitro Field unfortunately kind of got fucked by that, where the servers were complete shit, and because of that, it didn't really have like the greatest time, and unfortunately, that game kind of got depleted as it went on because of this whole thing. Also, wait, why is this trending? Whatever. Anyways, so, and the other 2 points I had here, which I will probably go over real quick because there's not much to say, really, because either A, I've already said it, or B, there's just, they were just there. Less players in matches, which in itself is a 50-50 because it kind of depends on like the whole point of the game, what you can do and stuff like that. But I guess less players in matches means that you're probably more likely to find more lobbies, especially when like with a big enough player base, you'll definitely have more time to get into matches as opposed to like finding a game in like a very huge setting. So possibly, I don't know. and more ways to play with your friends. I mean, I've already explained it with the whole. I've already explained it with the whole benefits before at the beginning, so I don't really need to say much. So yeah, let me go ahead and finish out the feint over here. So yeah, Crash Team Rumble is set to release its 2023 fall. For more information, head to the official. Okay, so I don't need to read that part. So overall, if we're to talk about the project, first of all, again, I'm super fucking excited. Because first of all, it's Crash Bandicoot. Because automatically, of course, I'm gonna get excited. But I really do want to see it succeed. With all biases to aside, I want to see this game succeed. Not because of the fact that, it's Crash Bandicoot, so it has to succeed. I want this game to actually succeed because I know that this is something different that they're approaching and kind of a revisit in a way, if you count Crash Bash as like their way of revisiting it. I just hope they succeed because I think this type of game will definitely work and succeed for Crash Bandicoot. But they also have to look at the failures of what Nitro Fuel couldn't do, unfortunately, in terms of, stable servers and just like developing a better online experience. If they do those two things and they also look at what the fans, here's the thing. You can look at what the fans want, but don't rely on it too much. But it is a very good idea to get a general feel and understanding as to what the fans are looking for. And then you look at what you're also trying to do. And you see both of those things, and you're just like, okay, how can we make this work? How can we implement it? And how can it be functional? You do those three things. You look at the fans. You look at what you're doing. You put those two things together. And hey, sometimes certain fan demands aren't going to be in there. I mean, that's just a natural reality of it all. But I think if they do a good job as to, simply seeing what the community wants and then keeping their opinions in mind for the most part, then I think it's just gonna work overall. I think it's gonna, I think it's just gonna be great for the whole game's success, which is what again I want the game to do. It's just to simply succeed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is go ahead and pause the video right here. And by pause the video, I mean simply I'm just gonna go ahead and end the recording on this one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get all the the other parts for it. But if for whatever reason I don't end up making the second part to this at all because I might just be distracted with other things, then I'll probably make it into a separate video at some point in time, whether that be later this year or whatever. So in case you don't see it in this current video. And in case you don't see it immediately after this video's upload, then that's why. But I guess what I'll say real quick is that again, I'm excited. There's just not very much to talk about unless we know more about it. I mean, of course, there's speculation already about who's gonna be in it and stuff like that. So in a way, this game kind of feels like Smash, where we're going back to the same speculation route. So in terms of my opinion on that, I personally don't care too much at this point because I already know that whoever is going to be in it, they're going to be necessary for, I guess, their addition to the game. It's going to be fun. I do expect Spyro to be in it. I mean, because I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, if he was in fucking Nitro Field and on-the-run mobile game, I don't see how he couldn't be in this one. And I think Spyro as a character, and in terms of his functionality, I could definitely see him working out overall. But yeah, again, I just want to make this very clear. I'm gonna go ahead and pause this recording to work on the next one. And if that isn't, put with this video overall, for this episode, then it's either A, could be its own video, or B, it's gonna come at a later time if it's not uploaded immediately. I'm not sure when that will be, but I just have to make sure I have everything in place before I really put it together, which is something I should have done before I started, but hey, whatever. So yeah, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy R597. I'll see you guys in the next part of this video. But in case you don't, for whatever reason, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time for either the next episode in itself, like a brand new episode, or I'll see you next time for the next video in whatever I do. So see you then, or in this case, if it's still gonna be here in this video, see you in a few seconds. All right, welcome back. If you're still here watching episode 10 on the same exact video, then this is the other part of the episode. But in case that it's not, and it's a separate video, completely brand new one with a brand new title and shit, then hey, welcome to this video. So let's go ahead and carry on. So what we have here is this Reddit post done by the QA tester, which is the one I was talking about potentially rambling on. And I leaked my own fucking sale numbers. Whoops. But I was just closing off something that popped up in my browser. But that will be something to show later. So this is the QA tester that used to work for Activision from spring 2020 to spring 2021. And this person talked about like a few things in here that I figured would be worth responding to. And obviously, I'm not going to discredit their work as to what they tested on, what they saw, and etc. But there are some things in here. And shout out to Abdul, the Arab guy on Twitter, one of the prominent Crash fans, that responded to this the same exact Reddit post and provided his thoughts. So I figured I provided my own and just kind of give off my opinion as to this whole thing. So what we're going to do is sorry. What we're going to do is respond to the Reddit post. We're going to respond to some points, we'll just go from there. So let's go ahead and get started. So it says here, hi all. I know you're all very excited for Crash Team Rumble, and many of you are excited to learn Wumpa League is finally here. I want to enlighten some of you. First off, who am I? My name is, blank, because the screen cap of this Reddit post blocked off her name, which, or his or her name, which, fine, whatever. That's not really relevant in this case, and obviously we don't want to leak that. I was a QA tester at Activision Blizzard from spring 2020 to spring 2021. I worked on several Call of Duty games, the Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel patch that was released for next-gen compatibility, and primarily Crash Breaking for It's About Time. You can find my name in the credits. They put us way at the bottom, Lamau. I knew about Crash Team Rumble, okay? Now that it's public knowledge, I can tell you a little bit about it. First off, I'm sorry y'all, but it's not Wumpa League. To the best of my knowledge, Wumpa League didn't even exist. There was never a working project title called Wumpa League, and now that we have a trailer, there's not releasing a game called Wumpa League either. So what is Crash Team Rumble? Crash Team Rumble is a finished version, or is the finished version, of a scrapped versus multiplayer mode for Crash 4. It wasn't originally a separate project. Working on Crash 4, all of us knew it existed, but I and several of the other QA testers never got to play test it because it was canceled before we joined the project. Crash 4 was on a tight release schedule, and some content was cut, but you can still find references to this mode in the game. The completionist ending features a tournament and the newly revealed Bat character, and there's the Easter egg of the Wumpa fruit symbol on the TV. It's also why the reveal trailer only features characters from Crash 4. Was this game in development this entire time you've been thinking and making Wumpa League rumors? To the best of my knowledge, no. After Crash 4 released in 2020 of October, it was viewed as a financial failure because it pulled in less sales than Nitro Fuel. We worked on the CTR patch and the Crash 4 ports for Switch and PC until they released in spring. Then the entire QA team was either laid off along with hundreds of other Activision employees or moved to work on Call of Duty Vanguard. Nobody was working on what you guys would call yearly family games. Later, it was revealed in the news that some of the Toys for Bob development team has also started supporting Call of Duty. As far as any of us knew, Crash Team Rumble was a game release because it had already been canceled a long time ago, and everybody was working on Call of Duty. It seems they picked this one back up and finished it, so I hope it turns out well. So yeah, first of all, like I said, we're going to go ahead and respond to some of these points. There's some ones I won't respond to because I don't have like the information to really respond to accurately with, or just mainly that basically, and then we'll just go from there. First of all, I can tell you a little bit about it. First of all, I'm sorry y'all, but it's not Wumpa League, and to the best of my knowledge, Wumpa League didn't exist. So my main issue with this is that if you watch the Paul Yan video from that one conference, right? If you watch that conference, there's a moment in the screenshot or part of the slideshow, with all the sticky notes and shit, where, on the left is, not what they, what they don't want to do. In the middle is what they will want to do down around the middle or some shit like that. And then on the right is definitely what they want to do. Or if I have it reversed, it's reversed. But at some point, if you look at the slideshow in itself, there's a particular sticker. There's a particular sticker in there that just says Wampa League. Of course, it doesn't show out the whole sticker, so you can't really see it says Wampa League. But it literally starts off with W. I think it starts off with WUM, and then it gets cut off. But then you see like the L in it as well. So here, let me see if we can find it here on stream, on the video. All right. Oh no, here it is. Here the fuck it is. Also, by the way, that's my Twitter. Hi. All right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. All right. So this is the image I'm talking about. So the game isn't. Okay. So I have it wrong. It was game is on the left. Game isn't on the right. So I will take responsibility for that. But let's go and take a look. What do we see here? What do we see here? We see Wampa League. It quite literally says Wampa League. I thought maybe this would be cut off more just to be less obvious, but I guess not. So the fact that the claim is, oh, Wampa League didn't exist. I mean, this is right here. Like, you mean to tell me that it only existed just to rile up the fans? Is that why it existed? Because, I mean, if that's the case, then fine, whatever. But, like, that's not true. And this was talked about... When was the fucking GDC conference? When was this GDC conference? Let me see if I could go find it. Okay, so, let me see. Let me see. Okay, so the video was posted in September 3rd of 2021, but I'm not sure if it's actually when they do it. So, but for now, we're gonna call it September 2021. Actually, let's go back and see when he posted it. Oh no, it definitely didn't because it came out in August, so it probably came out in July. Let me see. It doesn't say. Whatever. That's fine. But anyways, before we go back to the Reddit post. Yeah, before we go back to the Reddit post. It says Wampa League right here. In 2021. So, the fact that we got... The fact that the Reddit post says that Wampa League didn't exist. Kind of a joke. Because it literally says it right here. Now, unless the person says, oh, we made Wampa... Or they mentioned Wampa League... Because, oh, just to get fan engagement up and whatever, then fine, I can kind of accept that. But the claim outright says Wampa League didn't exist. Then what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, did this not exist then? But anyways, that's pretty much it for that one. I just don't believe that Wampa League didn't exist. Maybe it didn't exist to the degree of it being a build, but it definitely existed in their fucking minds. Because, I mean, hell, this is the chief creative officer, studio head. He's the head of the fucking studio. So if the head of the studio has this, I would think it does exist. You know? But whatever. Anyways, so let's go into the next one. There was never a working project title called Wampa League, and now that we have a trailer, there's not a releasing game called Wampa League either. Well, technically it still kind of is, but whatever. So what is Crash Team Rumble? Crash Team Rumble is the finished version of a scrap versus multiplayer mode for Crash 4. It wasn't originally a separate project. Working on Crash 4, all of us knew it existed, but I and several QA testers tight schedule. Okay, so we actually do have the tight schedule that they're talking about here, which is this image right here, and this came from an ex-Toys for Bob employee, and I was not able to find the name for it, but even if I did find the name, I wouldn't leak it because where I got this image from, the source obviously didn't want the name to be leaked either. No, I'm not saying I have sources. I got the image from Canadian Guy as video, but you know, whatever. So yeah, what I wanted to show you guys is just this, and obviously right over here, if we can just fucking scroll, zoom in. Basically, what we have here in this image of October, September 2020, event the spiral stuff, that is basically milestone details. Like, for example, it says here for Spyro on December 18th of 2017, one level complete. And then you have production updates, scheduled check-ins, and then all the. I know we can't see the rest of it, but you get the same idea that this is probably the same shit. And yeah, it is the same shit. So this is basically their milestone details to help keep track of their milestones and etc. And what we have here is the Quantum and Lava. Obviously, we could tell Quantum was Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And then there is Lava, which was supposedly one per week, but now it's Team Rumble, apparently. So what we got here... is basically them giving notes as to what they're going to do, meaning like, for example, for Quantum, it says making progress toward our alpha build delivery on March 13th. So that basically means that, hey, we're going to get done with our alpha build. We're going to finish up soon. And then something about monthly user research tests. I have no idea, honestly. And then Lava, it says here, preparing us to migrate into production, which would mean that, hey, we're about to migrate into the production and start really making this game. Remaining content and features requires prototyping. So they're pretty much just, that right there pretty much means that they're going to go ahead and start testing out all this shit, see if it works, see if it doesn't, what needs to be fixed, and etc. Remaining questions and or blockers preventing us from moving to production. So basically, if there's any block in movement where it will prevent them from going into production, they will basically hear out all the remaining questions as to what will be had as far as that. So there's really not much else to say about it, other than, wait, is this the same thing? Yeah, no, this is the same thing. So this one right here, they're the same thing. So that's it. But let's look at this primarily. So the Reddit post says that Crash 4 was on a tight release schedule and some content was cut, which I could definitely believe. Whoops. So here's what we got here. We're gonna focus on Colin real quick. So one final Crash level, which was supposedly supposed to be done around August, in between August and September. So I would imagine like what, August 10th to the 20th, maybe that's like the between the month. So that will be it. And then right in the middle of November is the final boss battle, which would have been the fight with Cortex. And then there's the fuck, I can't even see what that says. Average short levels. Oh, something about levels. So that would have been done like immediately after November, or right in the halfway of the Cortex battle fight. So there's that. And then there's the progression input, which was supposed to be done in between January and February, and right in the middle of March would be the alpha build. And then there's like a month and a half period from after that to then to then there being the beta version, which is normally at this point the beta version would be the one where mostly everything is complete. The only thing that you would do at that point is just minor changes here and there, maybe a few big changes here and there, but for the most part you would generally have the game done at that point. And then PlayStation Xbox Series CRC. Let me see what CRC was. I have no idea. I imagine this was when they were about to release announce it to the world or some shit, I guess. And then obviously right over here, we have the PlayStation and Xbox launch. So this was when they were launching the game. And then there was the Switch CRC. And then right over at this point was the Switch launch, which is where they were going to launch it on the Switch. And I mean, of course, PC was in there too, but they only had like the Switch here in the timeline. And then right over here, you basically have Lava, which was Wumpa League, or in this case, Team Rumble. So Team Rumble would have started right then and there. One new map, 3 heroes plus other stuff, and 2 more heroes. So basically, they would have had 1 new map, 3 heroes, 2 heroes, along with this other stuff I can't fucking read. Actually, let's do something real quick. Progression study. Okay, so that's what it said before for Quantum. All right, let's just read Lava. All right, so let's take a look. And yes, I'm using King Guy as a video for this one because the image that I have here can't really see too much of it, even if I zoom in. So yeah, multiplayer horizontal Blaze. I can't really tell what that says. But yeah, it says 3 heroes, 1 map, and then 1 zip meta. All right, so there's 1 new map, 3 heroes, polished feedback, 2 heroes. So basically, I imagine unless the 3 heroes one here is different to the 2 here than the other one here, you kind of already have gotten off to a decent start. So yeah, so then we have 3 map designs for the middle of February 2020. 4 more heroes for in April that needed to be done, and then 4 maps. Hand off to, I can't tell what that says, but whatever. Let me see. Okay, so vertical slice. That's for the middle of June. And then in August would be another 4 heroes, plus additional maps, along with whichever this is, which I have no fucking idea. And then at this point, you'll have analytics and live environment, which pretty much means that they're going to prepare for the closed alpha. Let's actually go back to our thing, because at this point, I think I could go ahead and see some of it. So yeah, you'll have you'll have analytics, live environment, which is in preparations for the closed alpha. And then there's the core progression testing with full with the functionality, which is what alphas are really all about. And then right around in between of April and May of 2021, in between that, there will be region tests, which pretty much means that, hey, they're going to test this out in other regions, get eligible regions to be evolved, get their input, and etc. And then what they're going to do, or what they would have done, or not that they would have done, but what was originally going to be done was then the closed beta and the bounty focus, which would have been 16 heroes and 12 maps, which would have been done between, which originally was supposed to be done between June and July of 2021. And then in August, there would have been an open beta meta testing, meaning like testing out the fire, iron, ticks, and shit of the game, just having people test that out. And then obviously, as we all know, it would have launched in between of September and October of 2021, which is when this game would have been released, or released into Crash 4, I would have assumed. So let's go back to the Reddit post. So the claim here, or what is being said here, is that Crash 4 was on a tight release schedule, and some content was cut. Well, we do know for a fact that some content was cut because obviously content being cut for games is not that unusual. I think it's probably like one of the most common steps in game development, because you're bound to cut some stuff in the games, and then you either release it as like DLC at some point if it's essential towards the whole point of that DLC, or you put that feature in the next game, or you just don't and it's just gone forever. It's usually one of those few things. But if we do look at the timeline here, right? And of course, I'm no judge to talk about game timelines, but I do want to offer my opinion just based off the fact that this timeline, which is verified to be real. So Quantum, like I said, is Crash 4. Lava is Team Rumble, I would assume. So at this point, let's use May as like a good benchmark. At this point in May 2020, there would have been the beta test. And if we look at this point with Lava, because this person came in spring 2020. So in spring 2020, let me take a look here. Sorry, caps lock. So the seasons are defined as spring, March, April, and May. So let's keep that in mind. So let's go back to the timeline. So in March of 2020, the alpha build would have been worked on, and into May would have been the beta. Now, That is a pretty tight schedule, I would say, because you not only do you have to work on the alpha, but you also have to work on the beta. And obviously, from alpha to beta, there's a lot of shit that you really have to fix. There's a lot of shit that you have to add in, a lot of shit you have to cut out, etc., etc. So, with this also, along with the fact that this also happening as well, I would say it is a pretty tight schedule. I would say. But then again, I am somebody with no knowledge of the gaming development scheduling other than what's being reported and other than what's being said by the people themselves. So I wouldn't really know for sure. Working on Crash 4, all of us knew it existed, but I and several other QA testers never got to play test it because it was canceled before we joined the project. Wait, what? So it says, so the person says it was canceled before we joined the project. So it had to be canceled at some point, but like there was progression being done on it. Like what? It had to be canceled later on in 2020 because this person joined around March or April or May, in between those 3 months. So it had to be canceled right afterwards. Would it have been no? Because this game supposedly wasn't even going to come out for a while. So unless they said fuck this shit and canceled and pulled the plug right at this point, right before March, there wasn't really that much done with the game. Other than like one new map, free heroes, and then another free maps. So, I don't know. That's 50-50 in my opinion. That's 50-50. The Quishes ending features a tournament and the new revealed back character, which we did see, yes. And there's the other Easter egg of the Wumpa Fruit symbol on TV. It's also on the real trailer. Only features characters from Crash 4. Huh, okay. Was this game in development for the entire time you've been theorizing making Wumpa with rumors? To the best of my knowledge, after financial failure. Okay, so first of all, this is fucking nonsense. The fact that this person says it was viewed as a financial failure because it pulled in less sales than the Nitro Field. I think being disingenuous like this is never a good move, especially when we don't have like the context as to why quote unquote these sales underperform. Like, let's think about this, right? Yes, it did sell. Sold at this point of 2020 of November than Nitro Field and Insane Trilogy. But you also have to look at other factors into it, right? Let's look at this. So, Super Data Research. Let's look at these guys. Which is basically Nissan Media Research. It's an American firm that measures media audiences, television, radio, theaters, films, newspapers, etc. Right? So, they speculated that because of the fact that there was a little lesser demand for the new title and that the release period was more crowded than its predecessors. So, in other words, these two games at the time that they came out didn't have competition. They literally did not have competition. But they said that, however, that the game's first month earnings was the highest for a contemporary Crash Bandicoot title due to the higher price tag. Oh, that's also another thing. High price tag. That's also another reason for that. That's also another reason. And also, if we're going to say that Crash Bandicoot for It's About Time was a financial failure, then, then what is this though? Like, explain to me what this is. Where they said themselves that the first month earnings were the highest for a contemporary Crash Bandicoot title because of the price tag. And then on top of that, following the release of all the platforms it was going to go, which was PS5, Xbox Series X, Series S, Switch version, the game rose to number 15 on the NDP monthly sales chart from number 65 of the previous month. And if we look at it, and this is the most important part, if we look at the same group, they observed that console sales, well, not the same group, but still very verified analysis, they saw that console sales for Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time were being sustained by the success of none other than On the Run, as well as the game's launch on the Switch and continued digital promotion. Wow, who would have guessed a financial failure that came onto the Switch, a financial failure with continuation of digital promotion, a fucking financial failure because of the success of a fucking mobile game that's now dead? Yeah, financial failure. Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, financial sale. Financial failures. Um, Financial failures. That's fucking amazing. But yeah, let's look at this one more time. The game made number one in the UK physical sales chart, selling 1,000 more copies than Squadrons. But physical sales were 80% less than Crash Bandicoot and Saint Trilogy. Okay. The game made number two in the digital charts for UK. Okay. What was this? Oh, this was in 2020 in October. So yeah, these numbers are relevant. These numbers are relevant. In Japan, the PlayStation 4 version sold about 10,437 physical copies within the first week of release, making it the fifth best-selling game of the week in the country. The Switch version was released in Japan the following year and sold 2,288 copies during its first week. It was the 20th best-selling retail game in the country during that week. The game topped sales charts for the week of September 28th to October 4th of 2020 in Australia, New Zealand, Italy, and France with just 3 days worth of sales, which is very fucking good, because if you're topping the sales charts with just 3 days worth, that would mean you're on a pretty fucking good start. And then in Switzerland, it says it was the second best-selling game during its first week of release. And then obviously it got nominated for awards, which obviously didn't win, but the awards in this case don't really matter because that's not the whole point. The whole point I was responding to was the fact that it was viewed as a financial failure. If Activision themselves, because I'm not sure if this was implied to be Activision, but if this were to be implied that it was a financial failure, then what is this? What is this? So let me go ahead and this is by Jump Button CB. Again, another prominent Crash Bandicoot fan on Twitter. Give him a follow. They post some really good shit and really good information. Here's what he says. The tweet picture, which is mine, is reflective of the OP's Fred title. However, they did indicate, and this is the thing to look at. However, they did indicate in the call that their non-COD quarter 4 games, which is for 2020, were contributors to the success of the quarter. That basically can't refer to much else other than Tony Hawk, which launched in the quarter third, but very close to the end, and obviously Crash Bandicoot, as they were the only other games outside of COD that Activision branch of Activision Blizzard released, but they did not mention Crash 4 by name during that call. The comment during the call was made specifically in regards to Activision, not Blizzard or King. I know it's confusing, but seeing these three entities as separate businesses under the Activision Blizzard umbrella. So basically, what this is talking about is that they were going over the sale numbers of their franchises, and they saw that Call of Duty, I think it was Cold War at the time, right? Here, let me look it up. Yeah, it was. Okay. So Call of Duty Cold War pretty much stunk the shit when it comes to sales. Like, they were just not doing that great. And I know the thing says here misleading, but what I wanted to talk about here, because he doesn't refute the fact that, it was offset. So basically, the success of the non-Call of Duty games from the fourth quarter or quarter 4 games, these games were offsetting the failures of Cold War, but were also massive contributors to the success of their overall profit, or of the overall success of the quarter. And there was no other games that could basically fill this role other than fucking Tony Hawk and Crash Bandicoot. So if this game was viewed as a financial failure, right, then how is it that the same financial failure was also able to offset fucking the stinking profit forecast that Cold War was supposed to bring in? And Call of Duty is Activision's cash cow. It is the cash cow of the branch. So if the cash cow fails, that's not a good thing. That's not a fucking good thing. So I don't get where this whole point of it being a financial failure comes from, because from the sale number, well, the only thing that you can really say is, oh, it sold less than Not True Food and Insane Trilogy. But you have to also look at other factors as well, where number one, it wasn't your typical remake of a game, which is why the remake sold well, because people were very familiar with it, and it was the nostalgia factor. So that's one thing. And number two, these two games came out when there was less competition around them, meaning when you have less competition in your environment, you're more than likely to have boosted sales. And number 3, the price tag. Crash Bandicoot What's About Time was about like $60. It was about $60, and these games, I believe, other than the Switch, because I think the Switch had it for like what, $40. They had like a lesser price tag, I believe. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure. What was the price tag for Natural Field when it came out? Let me see. Let me see. It doesn't really say here. History. Let me take a look here. PSN price history. Is there a way to... It doesn't really say here. I mean, it was supposed to say something, but it doesn't really bring up anything. Let me check here real quick. So, okay, so this is just the PlayStation Store, but it gives you somewhat of an idea. So, this game came out around 2019 of summer, right? And this game came out at least on PlayStation Store for about $29. So, basically, $30. So, because of the fact that this game came out with a lesser price tag, less competition, obviously, of course, it's going to fucking sell well than the game that has a higher price tag and higher competition. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? So, and on top of that, the game still sold very well in other fucking areas of the world. It made number 1 in UK physical sales charts. It was number 2 in the digital charts for the United Kingdom. It literally sold about 10k somewhat copies, within physical copies, within the first week of release in Japan, which was the 5th best-selling game during that time. The Switch version came out and sold about 2,288 copies during the first week and was the 20th best-selling retail game in the country during that week, which was in 2021. And the games topped the sales charts for this long of a period of time within the game's release in like 4 fucking countries. We have Australia, New Zealand, Italy, and France. And here's the kicker. This was just based off of 3 days worth of sales. This was literally just based on 3 days worth of sales. And it was also number 2 in Switzerland during its first week of release. Though I don't know if this was based on physical or digital, but the fact of the matter is, it still fucking came out. It still fucking came out very well. And Gaming Revolution, which by the way, which we'll look up just for verification, they are a gaming website created in 1996. It's based in Berkeley, California. They voted it to be the 10th best game of 2020. Now, there was a lot of fucking games that came out of 2020 that were really fucking good. Games that were amazing, games that were great, all over the place. So, the fact that this person goes out of their way to say it was viewed as a financial failure, while the same financial failure of a game was also voted 10th best game of 2020 by a fucking reputable gaming blog or website, whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what? Also, let's look at the reviews. Alright, 85 out of 100. 80 for PlayStation 4. 83 out of 100 for Xbox One. Nintendo Switch, 80 out of 100. 86 out of 100 for fucking PlayStation 5. Xbox Series XS for 86 out of 100. 83 out of 100 for PC. Pretty fucking good reviews. I mean, it's not 100 out of 100. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be. But it literally, it literally says, that this game at least brought in like what? Around like a B, solid B plus grade? Somewhere around there? I think it's like a solid B of a game. Yeah, solid B. Financial failure. Give me a break. So 9 out of 10 here. 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 here, 5 out of 5 from Game Revolution, the same fucking site we just talked about. Wait, where is it? Oh yeah, there it is. The same fucking website we talked about. This is the same game. This is the same website that voted it 5 out of 5. GameSpot at 8 out of 10. Gains Radar. This is 4.5 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 8 out of 10. And this is 8 out of 10 stars. Solid B game. 7.5. And of course, you know, obviously with the review scores, the way it works is that the more you see more of it, the more it goes down, because, you know, it depends on how people viewed it. But for the most part, if we look at if we look at it overall, based on these scores, and what we see here from Metacritic, this game was at least by average a solid B game, around a solid B. Maybe to a B plus. Maybe. So it's still a pretty good fucking game. It was still a pretty good game. And it got generally favorable reviews. Game Evolution, same fucking guy. Perfect scorer. Proclaimed it to be the best entry of the series. It was fucking... The Quantum Mass were generally welcome for their series established mechanics. I mean, of course, there was criticisms with Akano, which, by the way, I actually do kind of agree. Akano could have been a little bit better, but that's fine. Music, obviously, was reviewed very positively, which is standard for a Crash Bandicoot, game. So yeah, financial failure. Yeah, sure. If anybody that reads this shit, and anybody that understands the context behind these sales, and the fact that this game also offset a very shitty fucking period for Call of Duty Cold War by having its own success, then where the fuck does this whole point of it being a financial failure comes from? Where does it come from? So I think that's very much it, because everything else in the post, it's either A, I don't really have a response to, or B, I just don't have adequate information to really comment on, so I don't want to look like an idiot. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and just leave it at that. Let's put it back here and just end it off. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it off, because that's all I really wanted to. That's all I really wanted to point out, because, again, overall, it was just, you know, I just thought that Reddit post was worth responding to, but I did not realize I would respond more to the financial sales part of it, because in all honesty, I thought I would respond more to the whole lava thing, and the whole timeline shit, and how Wumpa Week doesn't, you know, exist, when literally this is right here. The whole where the red circle's at, it says Wumpa Week right fucking there. And, of course, the Crash Bandicoot social media account also teased on it as well, with its own 25th anniversary post that they did, I think, around the time before E3, where it literally says in one of the on one of the lists, Wumpa League. I mean, of course, again, it's not going to say the whole fucking name, but it does fucking indicate that shit. So, I personally have no idea where the whole idea of this being a financial failure came from, because I just don't see how this game was a financial failure. I actually don't. Like, if you're gonna tell me that, oh, it's a financial failure because it didn't sell, it didn't sold as well as as a Nitro Field or Nitro Field or all that shit. It just, I don't know. Again, context of this, all of this shit. And this, like, if you say the Crash Bandicoot 4 is a financial failure, then yikes, because that couldn't be any less true. So, I don't know what to tell you guys. I think that's all there is to it. And again, sorry if my opinions about Team Rumble wasn't much, but again, there wasn't very much to see other than the fact that, hey, it exists. There's not really gameplay, but there's like an idea as to how it works. And once we get more information about this game, I'll probably give more of a better opinion. But for now, all I'm going to say about Team Rumble is that I'm super excited that the game is released, is coming out soon. I'm excited for the features of it. I'm excited to see how they implement the ideas of MOBA. I'm excited to see how they handle the servers, the character implementations, their abilities, how all the abilities for the characters work, and pretty much anything that you can really expect from understanding more of the game. So I think that's pretty much it for me, guys. And once again, if you're watching this on the current episode of Richie's Thoughts, which, you know, if I end up doing that and put it in the same video, then hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. But in case for whatever reason it's not on the current episode, but it's on its own separate video, then I hope you guys enjoy this separate video. And as always, if you wish to follow me on Twitch / subscribe to me on Twitch, you can do that by going to rfriday97 on Twitch. If you wish to follow my content Twitter account, you can follow me there at rfriday97. Obviously, you're here on YouTube, but if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And last but not least, if you're a boomer, if you're a fucking boomer and have a Facebook, you could go follow the Facebook page rfriday97. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful morning, night, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. As TSS always says, wash your fucking hands, stay safe, and have yourselves a great day.